Good morning, friends. Let me ask you something. When you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you say to yourself? Is it, oh no, another day? Or is it, yes, today is my day? Because here's the truth. The words you speak when you wake up are like the seeds you plant for your entire day. And whatever seeds you plant will grow. Florence Scovel Shinn, the great metaphysical teacher from the early 1900s, understood this. She believed that life responds to the power of our spoken word. And she gave us 7 powerful declarations to speak every single morning. Words that can transform your mood, your mindset, and your destiny. Today, I'm going to give them to you. And I'm going to show you how they can change everything. Before I share the declarations, let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I met a man who had lost everything. His job, his savings, his confidence. Every morning he would wake up, stare at the ceiling and think, I'm finished. And guess what? The world agreed with him. Every door stayed closed. One day a friend challenged him. Start saying out loud what you want, not what you fear. He resisted. It felt silly. But he tried. He started with small words like, today is going to be good. Weeks later his energy changed. His confidence returned. And opportunities started to appear. That's when I understood. The mouth is the steering wheel of your life. I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay. Imagine starting your day believing your work is a gift, not a burden. Even if your job isn't your dream, saying this declaration plants a seed for better work to come. Say it as if it's already true, and watch how your attitude shifts. Unexpected doors fly open for me. Life is full of surprises, but we often expect the wrong kind. Instead of fearing bad news, expect miracles. Picture doors opening, new friendships, new opportunities, new solutions. I am in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. Ever felt like you're behind in life? This declaration reminds you, you are exactly where you need to be. The right doors open when you trust the timing of your journey. Everything I seek is seeking me. Think about that for a moment. If you're looking for love, peace, success, they are also looking for you. This is not a one-way chase. You are on a collision course with your blessings. I have a magical work in a magical way. I give magical service for magical pay. Magic isn't about tricks, it's about wonder. It's about seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary. Add a sense of excitement to your day and people will feel it. I cast this burden on the Christ within and I go free. Sometimes, the heaviest weight we carry is invisible. It's the fear, the guilt, the what-ifs. This declaration is about surrender. About letting go of what you can't control. And trusting that you're not alone. God's wealth is circulating in my life. There is always a divine surplus. This isn't just about money. It's about abundance in health, love, and peace. When you believe there is more than enough, you stop living in fear. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 21 mornings, speak these 7 declarations before you do anything else. Say them with energy. Say them with belief, even if you have to fake it at first. Because when you speak life, life listens. When you declare blessings, blessings come looking for you. So tomorrow morning when your eyes open, don't just wake up. Rise up. Key takeaways. Your words are seeds. Plant what you want to grow. The morning is the most powerful time to set your intentions. Florence Scovel Shinn's 7 declarations help align thoughts, emotions, and actions. Expect miracles instead of problems. Let go of fear by surrendering burdens to a higher power. Abundance is a mindset. Believe in divine surplus. Let me take you deeper into this idea that your words are seeds, because most people hear that and think it's just a nice metaphor. But it's more real than the ground you walk on. Imagine for a moment you are a gardener standing in a wide, open field at sunrise. The soil stretches out in every direction. It's rich, dark, and ready. Now in your hands are 2 baskets. One is filled with seeds of vibrant flowers, sweet fruit, tall green trees. The other basket is filled with seeds of thorns, weeds, and plants that will choke the life out of anything beautiful. Every morning, without fail, you step into that field and you begin to plant. But here's the thing, you don't get to skip planting. Even if you do nothing, your mind will still drop seeds. And whatever you plant is going to grow whether you like it or not. When you wake up and your first words are, "This is going to be a terrible day," you just planted a thorn bush right in the middle of your path. You might not see it instantly, but by the afternoon you'll trip over it. You'll find it in the way your patience wears thin, or how one small inconvenience feels like the world is against you. The soil of your life doesn't argue with you. It doesn't say, "Are you sure you want that?" It simply takes what you say and begins to grow it. I remember meeting a woman at a seminar years ago. She was in her late 50s, and when I asked her how her year had been, she sighed and said, "Same as always, bad luck just follows me." She said it with such conviction, as if she were reading from an unshakable truth. But when I pressed her on why she believed that, her stories began to surface. The missed promotions, the car that broke down, the health scare. And in every story I noticed something. She had told herself before each event, "Something bad always happens to me." It was like she had been broadcasting a signal, and the universe simply tuned in and delivered what she'd been announcing for decades. Compare that to my friend David. Every single morning, no matter what's going on, he says out loud, "Today is going to bring me something good." He doesn't even care if he believes it fully in the moment. He says it like someone planting sunflower seeds, trusting that one day the stalks will rise. And I've watched his life. Even on days when things genuinely went wrong, a small blessing would appear. An unexpected message from a friend, a little stroke of luck, a solution showing up just in time. It wasn't magic in the fairy tale sense. It was simply the return of what he had planted over and over again. Think about a farmer. If a farmer plants apple seeds, he doesn't wake up the next day expecting oranges. He knows exactly what will grow because he knows exactly what he planted. Yet so many of us plant words of doubt, fear, and defeat, then feel confused when our days are filled with frustration and lack. We call it reality, when in truth, it's just the harvest of our own speech. Florence Scovel Shinn once wrote, "Your word is your wand." I love that because a wand doesn't work without deliberate action. You don't wave it accidentally. You point it. You direct it. Your words are the same. They are not harmless sounds. They are blueprints, instructions sent out into the invisible, telling your life what to build next. And the morning, that fragile, fresh moment before the noise of the world comes rushing in, is when the soil of your mind is most open. That's when your words sink the deepest. I sometimes tell people to imagine a small child inside them, waiting every morning to hear what today will be like. This child trusts you completely. If you tell them, "We're in danger, life is hard, nothing works out for us," they will shrink and they will move through the day bracing for impact. But if you tell them, "We are safe, today will bring opportunities, we are strong," they will walk into the day with open eyes, ready to see what's possible. That inner child is your subconscious mind. It doesn't argue with you, it just believes. Let's make it real. Tomorrow morning, imagine two people in different parts of the world. The first person wakes up, groans, and says, "I hate mornings, I can't catch a break, this day is going to be long." The second person wakes up, stretches, and says, "Something wonderful is coming my way today." Both step into the same kind of unpredictable world. Traffic jams, phone calls, emails, unexpected events. But the first person notices every delay, every irritation, and by nightfall, they feel drained and validated in their negativity. The second person, even if they face the same events, will notice the one stranger who held the door, the email that brought a small opportunity, the unexpected laugh they shared. They'll end the day feeling it was somehow good. Same world, different seeds. The beauty of this truth is that you are not stuck with the seeds you've been planting. You can change them at any moment. If for years you've been starting your day with worry, you can decide that tomorrow morning, the first words out of your mouth will be ones of hope. At first it might feel forced, like you're pretending. But I promise you, even pretending plants seeds. And eventually those seeds will sprout, and when they do, you'll have real proof that your words have power. I've seen it in my own life. There was a season when I woke up every day feeling behind, as if life had already started without me. My first thought was always, "I'm late. I'm failing. I'm too far gone to catch up." And every day mirrored that energy. I rushed, I made mistakes, I missed chances. One day I decided to try something absurdly simple. I wrote on a sticky note, "I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, and today holds good things for me." I put it next to my bed. The first morning I felt silly saying it out loud, but I did it. Then the next morning. Then the next. A few weeks later I noticed something strange. I wasn't rushing as much. I wasn't panicking. Opportunities started feeling possible again. And it hit me. Nothing in my external world had changed at first. But my words had shifted my perception, and my perception had shifted my reality. That's why I tell people, your words are seeds. They may be invisible when you speak them, but they are working the moment they leave your lips. You can speak weeds into your path or you can speak roses. You can call in storms or call in sunshine. You can reinforce your limits or you can announce your freedom. The soil will not choose for you. The only question is, what will you plant tomorrow morning? Imagine for a moment that you are walking down a long hallway lined with doors. Some are old and wooden, heavy with rusted handles. Others are glass, letting you see the light and life on the other side. Some doors are locked, some are slightly open, and some look like they've been waiting just for you. Now picture yourself standing there, unsure which one to try. That's how most of us live, staring at closed doors, pressing our ear to them, wondering if we'll ever get in. And the tragedy is, many people wake up each morning already assuming that those doors will never open for them. Life is hard. Nothing ever works out for me. I'll always be stuck here. And so they don't even knock. They don't even try the handle. But there's something magnetic about expectation. When you expect nothing, you tend to receive nothing. When you expect good, it's as if the very air around you starts to move in your favor. Florence Scovel Shinn's words, "Unexpected doors fly open for me," are not just a poetic hope. They are an instruction to the universe. They tell life, I am ready for something I didn't see coming. Surprise me. I remember a young man named Arif who came to one of my workshops. He had been unemployed for months, worn out from rejection after rejection. "It's hopeless," he said. "No one's going to hire me." I asked him to do something that felt ridiculous to him. Every morning for 30 days I told him to say out loud, "Unexpected doors fly open for me." He laughed, shaking his head, but he agreed. At first he said the words with no belief at all, almost with sarcasm. But he kept saying them. Somewhere around the third week something shifted, not outside him but inside. His posture changed. His voice had more confidence. He started sending applications with a little spark in his tone, as if he actually believed someone might want him. And on day 24 he got a call, not from a place he applied to recently, but from an old application he had forgotten about. They invited him for an interview. That interview led to a job offer. "It's weird," he told me. "It's like those words went ahead of me and pushed that door open." That's the power of expectation. It makes you available to opportunities you'd otherwise overlook. You see, the mind has a filter. It's called the reticular activating system, and it notices what you tell it is important. If you keep telling yourself, "Nothing ever happens for me," your mind will filter out the small signs of possibility and you'll miss them. But if you tell it, "Unexpected doors fly open for me," your brain starts scanning for open doors. It notices the email in your spam folder, the person at the coffee shop with a connection, the passing comment from a colleague. What used to be invisible becomes visible. I know a woman named Evelyn who swears by this. She wanted to start her own bakery but didn't have the funds. Every morning she whispered that declaration while making breakfast for her kids. "Unexpected doors fly open for me." A month later she was chatting with another mom at a school event, just small talk, nothing serious. The woman asked what Evelyn did and she casually mentioned her dream of opening a bakery. The other woman smiled and said her uncle had just retired from running a bakery and was looking for someone to take over his space, equipment included. Evelyn thought she was joking. Within 6 weeks she was signing papers. She didn't plan it, she didn't force it. The door flew open. Sometimes the doors that open are not the ones we were staring at. That's important to remember. People get fixated on one outcome and miss the fact that life is trying to surprise them in a different way. If a farmer stands in front of one gate waiting for it to open while 10 other gates stand wide open behind him, he'll miss the harvest entirely. The declaration, "Unexpected doors fly open for me," trains you to look in all directions, not just the one you've decided is right. And yes, there's resistance. The mind says, "But what if no doors open? What if nothing changes?" Here's my answer. That's exactly why you say it. Because your current thinking hasn't gotten you anywhere. You have nothing to lose by expecting the unexpected. And even if nothing dramatic happens right away, the very act of expecting shifts your energy. You walk into a room differently when you think something good might happen there. You speak differently on the phone when you believe the conversation could lead somewhere. You treat strangers differently when you think one of them might hold a key to a door you didn't even know existed. There's a scene I'll never forget from an old film. The main character, lost and desperate, wanders into a small alley, certain he's at a dead end. But then a small gust of wind pushes a piece of paper against the wall, catching his eye. On the paper is a handwritten note with an address. He follows it and it leads him to exactly what he'd been searching for. That's what life feels like when you expect unexpected doors. You notice the paper in the wind. You take the address. You follow the trail. And you end up somewhere you never could have planned. I think of a time in my own life when this declaration became my lifeline. I was in a rut, financially, emotionally, creatively. I felt like all the doors I wanted were locked tight. But I decided to test Florence's words. I woke up each day and said, "Unexpected doors fly open for me." Some days I said it with faith. Some days I said it through clenched teeth, barely believing. 2 weeks in, a friend called and asked if I wanted to speak at an event in another city. I almost said no. It wasn't exactly in my field and I was tired. But I remembered my declaration and said yes. At that event, I met someone who later introduced me to a project that changed the course of my career. The door I had been banging on stayed closed. But a side door I didn't even know existed swung wide open. That's the thing, you don't get to choose which doors will open. But you can choose to live in a way that's ready when they do. You can choose to greet the day with words that make room for surprise. Because if you start each morning expecting the worst, you walk past miracles without even turning your head. But if you wake up expecting doors to fly open, you'll find yourself reaching for handles you wouldn't have noticed. And sometimes the handle turns so easily, you'll wonder how long that door had been waiting for you to try. There's a strange kind of peace that comes when you believe you are in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. Most of us don't live like that. We live like we're late to a train that's already gone, running through life trying to catch something we think we've missed. We scroll through other people's lives and whisper to ourselves, "I should be further ahead. I should be doing more. I should be somewhere else by now." And every time we think that, we send a signal to our mind and heart that we are out of place, out of time, and out of alignment. That's why this declaration, "I am in the right place at the right time doing the right thing," is like a deep breath for the soul. It tells you to stop fighting the moment you're in and start trusting it. I remember a man named Jacob who once came to me for advice. He was restless, always convinced he had taken the wrong path. He had switched careers 3 times, moved cities twice, and still he felt behind. "I can't shake the feeling that I'm missing where I'm supposed to be," he said. I asked him to think back over the last 10 years and point out the biggest turning points in his life. Without hesitation, he told me about meeting his wife at a bookstore he never planned to visit, about landing his first big job because he bumped into an old friend at a bus stop he almost skipped. None of those moments were on his schedule. They happened because he was where he was, when he was, without realizing the importance of it. I told him, "Maybe you've never been off track. Maybe you've just never trusted that the track you're on is the right one." Life has a way of weaving meaning into moments that look ordinary from the outside. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply be present in the exact moment you're living. There's a story I love about a young woman who missed her flight because of a traffic jam. She was angry, pacing around the airport, muttering about bad luck. While waiting for the next flight, she sat at a coffee shop and struck up a conversation with the person next to her. He turned out to be the owner of a company in the exact field she wanted to work in. That conversation led to a job offer that set her career in motion. She told me later, "If I'd caught my original flight, I wouldn't be where I am today." What felt like being in the wrong place at the wrong time was actually the doorway to the exact right place. We forget that the timing of our lives is bigger than our schedules. A flower doesn't bloom in January because it's not ready. It blooms when the season is right, when the sun and rain and soil all align. We are no different. Sometimes the reason something hasn't happened yet is not because you're failing, but because the season isn't ready for it. When you believe you are in the right place at the right time, you release the constant tension of thinking you're running behind. You stop forcing open doors that aren't meant to open yet. You start noticing the beauty of the room you're already in. I think about a day when I was standing in line at a small bakery. I didn't even plan to be there. I had been walking somewhere else and changed my mind halfway. Ahead of me, a woman dropped her wallet. I picked it up and handed it to her. That small act started a conversation. We discovered we had a mutual friend, and through her I later met someone who became a business partner. If I had been 5 minutes earlier or later, or if I'd stayed on my original path, that meeting never would have happened. It made me realize how many things in my life had come from moments that seemed random at the time. The declaration, "I am in the right place at the right time doing the right thing," also changes how you respond to challenges. Imagine you're stuck in traffic on your way to an important meeting. The old version of you might panic, curse the delay, and imagine all the ways this will ruin your day. But if you believe you are in the right place at the right time, you begin to trust that even the delay might have a purpose. Maybe it's protecting you from an accident ahead. Maybe it's giving you the quiet moment you need to think through an idea. Maybe it's keeping you from rushing into a room before you've centered yourself. It's not blind optimism. It's trusting that life is not random, that even the detours belong to the journey. A friend of mine named Layla told me about a night when she missed a networking event because she got home late from work. She was frustrated, thinking she had lost a big chance to meet important people. That evening, instead of going out, she stayed home and worked on a small creative project she had been putting off. A few weeks later, she shared that project online, and it caught the attention of someone in her industry, someone she never would have met at that event. It's like the universe was saying, "This is where I want you tonight," she said. And she was right. The truth is, we can never see the full map while we're standing on one street. We only see our little section of it. We don't see the way roads connect far ahead, the way one turn now might lead us to a destination we couldn't even imagine. That's why trusting the place you're in and the time you're in matters so much. Because you can't always tell from where you're standing what's waiting around the corner. And this belief, that you are in the right place at the right time, doesn't just bring peace. It brings power. When you stop wasting energy wishing you were somewhere else, you can give your full attention to where you are. That's when you start noticing details others miss, when you pour more into the conversation you're having, when you fully commit to the work in front of you. And strangely, it's that very commitment that opens the next door. People think success comes from constantly chasing the next thing, but often it comes from doing the current thing with everything you've got. I've seen people sabotage opportunities because they were too busy looking past them. A man once told me he hated his job and wanted to quit. I encouraged him to still give his best while he was there, to show up as if it mattered. He reluctantly agreed. 6 months later, the company offered to fund his training for a role in a completely different department, one that matched his passion. That offer only came because they had seen his dedication, even in a role he didn't love. By acting like he was in the right place, he created the pathway to the next place. When you declare each morning, "I am in the right place at the right time doing the right thing," you're not saying life is perfect. You're saying you trust that even what feels imperfect has a role in your journey. You're saying that you're not late. You're not early. You're exactly where you need to be to take the next step. And when you live like that, you stop running in circles trying to catch a life that's already here. You stand still long enough to notice that the path has been under your feet the whole time. And you take the step you can take today, trusting it will lead to the step after that and the one after that, until one day you look back and see that every place, every time, every choice was exactly where you were meant to be. There's something almost magical about realizing that everything you seek is also seeking you. We grow up thinking life is a one-way chase. Us running after the things we want, whether it's love, success, peace, or a dream we've carried since childhood. We picture ourselves as the hunter and the prize as something distant, elusive, always a little out of reach. But what if that wasn't true? What if, at this very moment, the thing you're looking for is walking toward you from the other side of the horizon, just as eager to find you as you are to find it? That's what this declaration, "Everything I seek is seeking me," is really about. It's not just a comforting thought. It's a reminder that desire is not a one-sided longing. It's a signal, and signals work both ways. I think of a woman named Claire who had been single for years. She had convinced herself that love was something she had to fight for, that she had to make herself more appealing, work harder to be chosen. But one day she came across that line, "Everything I seek is seeking me," and it stopped her. She said it out loud every morning, at first with a kind of disbelief, but slowly something changed. She stopped chasing so frantically. She began living her life fully, traveling, learning new things, going to events that interested her. And then, in the most ordinary moment, sitting in a park sketching, she met someone who matched her heart in a way she hadn't dared to imagine. It wasn't about suddenly earning love. It was about aligning herself with the idea that love was looking for her too, and in that alignment they found each other. The same thing happens in careers, in opportunities, in dreams. I once spoke to a young man named Victor who wanted desperately to be a filmmaker. For years he begged for chances, sent out desperate emails, and tried to force his way into the industry. Nothing worked. One day he told me, "I'm exhausted from chasing." I encouraged him to try a different approach, to act as though the right project was already on its way toward him. He began focusing on his craft, making short films with what he had, sharing them without expectation. 6 months later, someone stumbled upon one of his videos online, someone he didn't even know, and invited him to collaborate on a documentary. That opportunity became the stepping stone to everything he had wanted. He said it felt like the project had been searching for him as much as he'd been searching for it. When you believe everything you seek is seeking you, something inside you shifts. The energy of desperation fades. You stop grasping at every random thing that comes your way because you trust that what is meant for you will recognize you, will respond to you. This doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. It means you move through the world with the quiet confidence that you're not running an endless race. You're moving toward a meeting point. I've experienced it myself in ways that left me stunned. Years ago, I was dreaming of moving into a new home, but the process felt overwhelming. Every property I looked at seemed wrong. Too expensive, too small, too far. One morning, I decided to say it out loud. The home I seek is seeking me. It felt odd, but I kept repeating it, letting it sink in until it felt like more than words. It felt like truth. A week later, a friend called me out of the blue. She had heard about a place that wasn't even listed yet, owned by someone she knew who wanted a tenant like me. I went to see it, and the moment I walked in, I knew. It was exactly what I had been imagining. It was as if the house had been waiting for me, just as I had been waiting for it. It's easy to dismiss these moments as coincidence, but I think it's something deeper. When you decide to believe that what you seek is seeking you, your awareness changes. You notice things you would have overlooked before. You start recognizing the signs, the nudges, the connections that point toward your desire. It's like tuning a radio. Suddenly, the static fades and the right station comes in clear. Sometimes, the thing seeking you is not what you expected. Maybe you're chasing a specific job, but the role that truly fits you is something you've never considered. Maybe you're searching for a certain kind of relationship, but the one that will change your life looks different from the picture you've been holding. This is why trusting the principle matters. Because even if the form changes, the essence of what you desire is still on its way. I've seen people get so fixated on one path that they miss the other roads that are leading straight to them. When you trust that what you seek is seeking you, you allow space for the unexpected route. There's a certain peace in knowing you're not the only one doing the searching. It's like two ships sailing toward the same lighthouse in the night. You might not see each other yet, but you're both moving toward the same point, guided by the same light. This belief takes away the panic that you might miss your chance. It replaces it with a steady assurance that if it's truly for you, it can find you, even through detours, delays, or mistakes. A friend of mine, Jordan, told me about a time when he was convinced he'd lost his shot at a big opportunity. He had been invited to pitch an idea to a company, but due to a travel mishap, he missed the meeting. He thought it was over. Weeks later, while attending an unrelated event, he met someone who happened to work for that very company. They got to talking and Jordan casually shared his idea. The person loved it and arranged another meeting. Not only did the project go through, but it turned out the delay gave him time to refine the concept into something even stronger. He told me later, "I thought I was chasing them, but maybe they were chasing me too." This is the quiet truth beneath the declaration. The things meant for you don't get lost. They may take time. They may appear differently than you imagined. But they have a way of circling back, of finding the cracks in your doubt and slipping through anyway. The key is to keep moving toward them, not with frantic energy, but with the openness of someone who knows the meeting is inevitable. When you wake up and say, "Everything I seek is seeking me," you plant yourself in that openness. You walk into the day expecting alignment instead of resistance. You notice the stranger who says the one sentence you needed to hear. You see the article that sparks an idea. You feel the pull toward a place you didn't plan to go, and when you follow it, you find exactly what you didn't know you were looking for. And in those moments, you realize that you were never just chasing. You were being drawn, pulled toward your own future as it was being pulled toward you. There's a different kind of energy that comes into your life when you begin to believe in the magical side of what you do. When Florence Scovel Shinn said, "I have a magical work in a magical way. I give magical service for magical pay," she wasn't talking about tricks or illusions. She was talking about the quality of wonder, that invisible spark that turns something ordinary into something unforgettable. We live in a world that is obsessed with logic, efficiency, and predictability. And while those things have their place, they rarely stir the soul. Magic, in the sense Florence meant, is the feeling that what you do matters in a way you can't fully explain. It's the sense that your work is infused with meaning and that it somehow ripples out into the world beyond your immediate view. I remember meeting a florist named Helen who had a small shop on a quiet street. If you looked at her life from the outside, it was simple: arranging flowers, serving customers, keeping the shop tidy. But when you talked to her, you realized she didn't see herself as just selling flowers. "Every bouquet I make," she told me, "is a piece of someone's life. I'm there for their weddings, their apologies, their celebrations, their grief. I'm not just arranging petals. I'm carrying emotions in color and scent." That was her magical work. She approached every order with a kind of reverence, and people felt it. They came back not just for the flowers but for the way she made them feel. Her magical service brought her magical pay, not just in money but in the loyalty and affection of her community. The truth is, when you infuse your work with this sense of magic, you shift its frequency. You stop thinking of it as a task to get through and start treating it as a living thing you're nurturing. And somehow the world responds to that. Opportunities open. The right people cross your path. The work you're doing begins to speak for you in places you've never been. I've seen musicians who play in small bars with more passion than some who perform in stadiums, and somehow their music travels. A video of their performance gets shared, a stranger in the audience becomes a lifelong fan, and the ripple keeps moving outward. That's the magic at work. It's not always immediate, but it's alive. A friend of mine, Tom, once worked in a customer service role he didn't particularly love. It was repetitive, full of complaints and small issues, and he used to dread going in. Then one day he came across Florence's words. He thought, what if I just decide to make this magical? He began approaching every call as if he had the power to make someone's day lighter. He smiled when he spoke even though the caller couldn't see it. He looked for small ways to connect with people. Over time, customers began leaving feedback about how pleasant he was to speak to. His supervisors noticed. A year later he was offered a management position. The job he once resented became the pathway to a career he enjoyed. And it started when he decided to put magic into the most mundane moments. When you wake up and say, "Everything I seek is seeking me," you plant yourself in that openness. You walk into the day expecting alignment instead of resistance. You notice the stranger who says the one sentence you needed to hear. You see the article that sparks an idea. You feel the pull toward a place you didn't plan to go, and when you follow it, you find exactly what you didn't know you were looking for. And in those moments, you realize that you were never just chasing. You were being drawn, pulled toward your own future as it was being pulled toward you. There's a different kind of energy that comes into your life when you begin to believe in the magical side of what you do. When Florence Scovel Shinn said, "I have a magical work in a magical way. I give magical service for magical pay," she wasn't talking about tricks or illusions. She was talking about the quality of wonder, that invisible spark that turns something ordinary into something unforgettable. We live in a world that is obsessed with logic, efficiency, and predictability, and while those things have their place, they rarely stir the soul. Magic, in the sense Florence meant, is the feeling that what you do matters in a way you can't fully explain. It's the sense that your work is infused with meaning and that it somehow ripples out into the world beyond your immediate view. I remember meeting a florist named Helen who had a small shop on a quiet street. If you looked at her life from the outside, it was simple: arranging flowers, serving customers, keeping the shop tidy. But when you talked to her, you realized she didn't see herself as just selling flowers. "Every bouquet I make," she told me, "is a piece of someone's life. I'm there for their weddings, their apologies, their celebrations, their grief. I'm not just arranging petals. I'm carrying emotions in color and scent." That was her magical work. She approached every order with a kind of reverence, and people felt it. They came back not just for the flowers but for the way she made them feel. Her magical service brought her magical pay, not just in money but in the loyalty and affection of her community. The truth is, when you infuse your work with this sense of magic, you shift its frequency. You stop thinking of it as a task to get through and start treating it as a living thing you're nurturing. And somehow the world responds to that. Opportunities open. The right people cross your path. The work you're doing begins to speak for you in places you've never been. I've seen musicians who play in small bars with more passion than some who perform in stadiums, and somehow their music travels. A video of their performance gets shared, a stranger in the audience becomes a lifelong fan, and the ripple keeps moving outward. That's the magic at work. It's not always immediate, but it's alive. A friend of mine, Tom, once worked in a customer service role he didn't particularly love. It was repetitive, full of complaints and small issues, and he used to dread going in. Then one day he came across Florence's words. He thought, what if I just decide to make this magical? He began approaching every call as if he had the power to make someone's day lighter. He smiled when he spoke even though the caller couldn't see it. He looked for small ways to connect with people. Over time, customers began leaving feedback about how pleasant he was to speak to. His supervisors noticed. A year later he was offered a management position. The job he once resented became the pathway to a career he enjoyed. And it started when he decided to put magic into the most mundane moments. Magic in this sense is really about presence. It's about pouring yourself into what you're doing so fully that it carries your signature, even when you're not there to explain it. People can feel when something has been done with care. A handwritten note tucked into an order. The way a presentation has one extra layer of polish. The tone of a voice that says, I see you instead of, you're just another transaction. That's what turns service into magical service. And magical service has a way of attracting magical pay, not just in the form of income but in the kind of work, clients, and opportunities that energize you rather than drain you. The problem is most people approach their work like a transaction. Do the job, get the paycheck, repeat. But that's like planting a garden and never watering it. Yes, something might grow, but it will be small and lifeless. When you bring wonder, joy, and intention into what you do, you start to notice that you're not just working for the sake of money, you're participating in a kind of exchange that's bigger than the task itself. And money in that sense is just one of the ways the world says, thank you. I once heard a story about a man who ran a small roadside diner. The place was old with no fancy decor and the food was simple. But people would drive for hours just to eat there. When asked what his secret was, he said, I cook every meal like I'm making it for my own family. I want every person to leave feeling like they were cared for. That was his magic. It wasn't about elaborate recipes, it was about the energy he put into each plate. And because of that, his diner never struggled for customers. Word of mouth carried further than any advertisement could. When you start declaring that you have a magical work in a magical way, you're reminding yourself to look for the wonder in your own hands. Even if you're doing something you've done 1,000 times before, you can do it in a way that feels alive. And when you see your own work that way, it changes your relationship with it. It stops being a burden and becomes a form of self-expression. There's also something deeply freeing about magical pay. When you believe in this principle, you start to release the idea that your income has to come in predictable, limited ways. You open yourself up to the possibility that payment, whether financial or otherwise, can come from unexpected places. I've seen artists sell a piece they created years ago, long after they had forgotten about it because someone stumbled upon it and had to have it. I've seen freelancers receive bonuses from clients just because the client was so moved by the extra effort. These are not coincidences, they are the byproducts of work done with magic. Of course, the skeptical part of the mind will say, that's nice, but I can't control whether something magical happens. And that's true, you can't force it. But you can choose to bring your full self to the moment you're in. You can choose to let your work carry a piece of your heart. You can choose to see your role, no matter how big or small, as part of a much larger picture. That choice alone changes how the world responds to you. I think about a painter I met once who told me that she never worried too much about whether her art would sell. My job, she said, is to put the magic in the painting. The rest isn't up to me. And somehow her work always found the right buyers. Not because she had the best marketing plan, but because the magic she put in her work seemed to pull the right people toward it. That's the beauty of this declaration. It reminds you that your role is not just to clock in and get through the day. Your role is to infuse your work with something living, something people can feel. And when you do that, the world has a way of meeting you with resources, opportunities, and recognition you couldn't have predicted. It becomes a cycle. You give magic, you receive magic, and the exchange keeps growing. And perhaps the most powerful part is this. When you work this way, you start to fall in love with what you do again. You see it not as a grind but as a gift. You begin to realize that your work, in the right hands and with the right heart, can make someone's day, shift someone's mood, or even change the course of someone's life. And when you know that, when you truly feel it, you can't help but approach each day as if it's filled with possibilities you can't yet see, but will absolutely feel. There is a deep, unshakable power in the words we speak over ourselves, especially when those words are repeated until they become part of the rhythm of our lives. Florence Scovel Shinn's declaration, I am always under direct inspiration. I make right decisions quickly, is not just a sentence. It's a lifeline to a higher intelligence that moves beyond logic and into something instinctual, almost divine. Most people go through life second-guessing themselves, hesitating at crossroads, replaying conversations in their minds, and living in the echo chamber of what if I'm wrong? But when you step into the belief that you are always guided, that inspiration is flowing toward you at every moment, and that you have the ability to make the right choice without fear, something shifts inside you. You begin to walk with a quiet confidence, like someone who knows the path will appear beneath their feet the moment they take the first step. I once met a man named Richard who had built a small but thriving design studio. When I asked him how he handled big decisions, hiring new people, investing in new projects, he told me, "I don't give myself permission to live in indecision. I trust that if I'm connected to the right source, I'll feel it in my gut when something is right. And when I feel it, I move." He explained that years earlier he had been the opposite. Always waiting, always gathering more information, always letting opportunities pass because he wasn't sure. Then, after losing a major contract simply because he took too long to say yes, he promised himself he would start trusting the flashes of clarity that came to him. "Now," he said, "I make the choice and I back it with action." The speed of the decision is just as important as the decision itself. The beauty of living under direct inspiration is that it doesn't mean you act recklessly. It means you recognize the difference between fear and intuition, between noise and clarity. There is a still, small voice inside each of us that knows before we can explain why. Sometimes it comes as a sudden idea in the shower, a strong pull toward a certain option, or even a quiet but persistent discomfort that tells you something isn't right. The tragedy is that most people have trained themselves to override that voice with logic, with the opinions of others, or with the false safety of endless deliberation. And yet, if you listen to the stories of people who have made extraordinary moves in their lives, you'll hear a pattern. They acted on inspiration quickly, often before they had all the answers. There's a woman I know named Claire who runs a successful bakery in a small town. Her story began when she was working in a corporate job she didn't love. One day, while walking past an empty shop space with a "for lease" sign, she had an almost physical sensation. Her heart raced, her mind lit up with the smell of bread, the sound of customers chatting, the warmth of ovens. She could see it all as clearly as if it already existed. She told me, "I didn't even have a business plan. But I knew. It was like I could feel my future calling me from inside that space." Within a week, she had signed the lease. Friends told her she was being impulsive, but 5 years later her bakery is one of the most beloved spots in the area. "If I had waited," she said, "someone else would have taken that space and maybe I would still be sitting at a desk wondering what could have been." Making right decisions quickly doesn't mean every decision will be perfect. It means you trust that even if a choice doesn't lead exactly where you thought it would, it will take you to the next step you need. There's a kind of grace in this approach because you stop holding yourself hostage to perfection. You realize the path is made by walking, not by standing still and drawing endless maps. You learn to course correct along the way, which is far more effective than waiting for a perfect moment that may never come. I remember a personal moment when I had to decide whether to take a speaking opportunity in a country I had never visited, for an audience I wasn't sure would connect with my message. I had less than 24 hours to decide. My mind tried to pull me into fear. What if it's a waste of time? What if they don't respond well? What if I regret it? But there was a deeper voice, almost like a whisper, that said, "Go." I said yes. That trip became one of the most transformative experiences of my career, opening doors I didn't even know existed. It taught me that inspiration is like a window. It doesn't stay open forever. If you hesitate too long, you miss the moment. Living this way also reshapes how you see mistakes. If you're under direct inspiration, even a wrong turn can hold value. I've heard entrepreneurs say that their greatest ideas came from projects that failed, because those detours revealed something they would never have seen otherwise. One man told me, "I used to think a bad decision was a setback. Now I see it as part of a chain reaction that's still moving me forward." That kind of thinking removes the paralysis that comes from fearing you'll make the wrong move. There's a quiet joy in knowing you can trust yourself. It's like walking through life with an inner compass that's always pointing you toward what's meant for you. You stop seeking constant validation from the outside because you already feel aligned on the inside. People will notice this. They'll see it in the way you speak, the way you move, the way you don't seem rattled by uncertainty. It's magnetic because in a world full of hesitation, decisiveness looks like leadership. Some people think they can't hear inspiration because they're not spiritual enough or creative enough. But inspiration isn't reserved for certain types of people. It's available to anyone willing to be present, to listen, and to trust the first clear answer they receive. The challenge is that we live in a culture of overthinking, where taking too long is seen as being thorough, and moving quickly is seen as rash. But the truth is, there's a difference between acting without thought and acting without fear. I've come to believe that inspiration is like a current in a river. When you're in it, decisions flow naturally. You don't stand on the bank debating the water temperature. You step in and the current carries you. And once you've experienced that, you don't want to go back to forcing your way upstream. You want to live in that flow where choices feel lighter, where you're not trying to drag the future toward you, but instead letting it meet you where you are. Over time, the practice of making right decisions quickly becomes second nature. You don't waste energy on "should I," because you've trained yourself to recognize the yes when it appears. You also stop drowning in regret because you know you made the best choice with the inspiration you had at that moment. And somehow, that confidence creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you trust your guidance, the more accurate it becomes. Florence's affirmation is more than just positive thinking. It's a way of rewiring your relationship with life. It's a commitment to move in harmony with something wiser than your mind, to trust that you're always being nudged toward the right door, and to open it when you reach it instead of standing outside wondering what's on the other side. And the most incredible part is that when you live this way, you start to notice that life responds in kind. Opportunities arrive at the exact moment you're ready for them, paths appear that you didn't even know existed, and you begin to feel, with a deep sense of peace, that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. So, as we close this journey together, remember, your words create worlds, your declarations shape your destiny. Every morning is a blank page and you hold the pen. If this message stirred something in you, then don't just let it fade, lock it in. Hit that subscribe button, not because I said so, but because your future self will thank you for choosing to grow stronger every single day. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me, if you could declare one powerful truth to yourself every morning for the rest of your life, what would it be? Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly, as if money just runs to them? Why does one person succeed while another works tirelessly and struggles? What if I told you it's not luck? It's not hard work alone. It's your voice. Yes, the very words you speak, the thoughts you declare, the way you command your life. Florence Scovel Shinn, one of the greatest metaphysical teachers of the 20th century, said, "Your word is your wand. The words you speak shape your world." Think about that. Every time you speak doubt, fear, or limitation, you're unconsciously commanding scarcity. Every time you speak faith, gratitude, and confidence, you're calling abundance to you. The power of words. Let me give you a real-life example. There was a young woman, let's call her Sarah. She worked at a small office, barely making ends meet. Every day she would say, "I can't afford that. Money is always tight." And guess what? Her life mirrored her words. Tight money. Tight opportunities. Tight mindset. Then one day she read Scovel Shinn and tried something radical. Every morning she said, "Money comes to me in increasing quantities from expected and unexpected sources." Within months, a promotion came. A side business took off. Unexpected checks appeared. And her life changed forever. All because she changed her voice. Ask yourself, are your words commanding your wealth? Or your poverty? How to make money bow to your voice. Here's the secret. It's simple, but it requires practice. 1. Speak in the present tense. Say, "I am wealthy," not "I will be wealthy." The universe responds to the now, not the maybe. 2. Use gratitude as fuel. Thank life for every dollar you already have. Gratitude amplifies your words. It's like turning a whisper into a roar. 3. Declare abundance boldly. Don't whisper, "Maybe I can get a raise." Shout, "I deserve wealth. Opportunities flow to me effortlessly." 4. Avoid negative statements. Even casual complaints matter. Every "I can't" is a spell working against you. Here's a historical question. Did Thomas Edison ever say, "I will fail 1,000 times before I succeed"? No. He said, "I have found 1,000 ways that won't work." Same principle. Your voice shapes your path. Your voice isn't just words. It's the tone, the emotion, the expectation. Imagine a shopkeeper. A customer enters hesitant. The shopkeeper smiles and says, Today you'll find exactly what you need. Instantly the energy shifts. The customer feels guided, welcomed. That voice commands not just attention, it shapes reality. Your money works the same way. Speak with certainty. Speak with joy. Speak as if wealth is already bowing to you because it will. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds too simple. Can words really create money? Let me tell you something. Your words are the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Between the dream and the reality. Every millionaire, every successful entrepreneur, every self-made legend has one thing in common. They declare, they affirm, and they believe. Imagine your words as seeds. What will you plant? Fear, doubt, or confidence, gratitude, and unstoppable ambition? Money doesn't just knock on the door. It responds to your voice. It bows to your declaration. So today I challenge you. Look in the mirror. Speak with authority. Say, money flows to me effortlessly. I am worthy. I am abundant. I am unstoppable. Do it every morning. Do it every night. Watch as opportunities appear as your income rises and as life bends to your will. Remember, your voice is not just sound. It's a wand. And with the right words, money, success, and abundance bow to you. The power isn't outside you. It's inside. Every syllable you speak is shaping your destiny. Speak wisely. Speak boldly. Speak abundantly. And one day you'll look back and realize, you didn't just attract money. You commanded it with your voice. Key takeaways. Your words shape your financial reality. Speak abundance, not scarcity. Speak in the present tense to command the universe now. Gratitude amplifies the power of your declarations. Avoid negative language. Even casual complaints create limitations. Your voice is more than words. It's energy, emotion, and expectation. Daily affirmations can transform opportunities, income, and life itself. Have you ever stopped to think about the words you speak every single day? Not just the words you say to others, but the ones you whisper to yourself in the quiet corners of your mind, the ones you repeat like a secret chant while you brush your teeth, while you wait in line, while you drive alone. These words, seemingly small, carry tremendous power. They are the invisible architects of your reality, shaping every choice, every opportunity, every ripple of your life. And when it comes to money, this is where the magic and the danger lies. Imagine a man named Daniel. He was bright, talented, and hardworking, but he lived paycheck to paycheck, constantly worried about bills, rent, and the looming specter of debt. Every morning he would wake up, sit at the edge of his bed, and mutter under his breath, "I can't afford that. I'll never get ahead. Money just isn't for people like me." He didn't realize that those words, repeated like a worn-out mantra, were not just thoughts. They were commands he was giving to the universe. Every "I can't" built a wall between him and abundance. Every "never" cemented the barrier. Every "not for people like me" echoed in the corners of his life, shaping the circumstances he would encounter. Now picture another woman, Maya. She came from humble beginnings, grew up in a small town where opportunities were scarce, and yet she spoke differently. She didn't have a fortune, but she had a voice that demanded attention. First from herself, then from the world. Each morning she stood in front of her mirror, placed her hands on her heart and said, "I am worthy of abundance. Money flows to me from expected and unexpected sources. I attract opportunities that multiply my wealth." It might have sounded silly at first, even to her, but the moment she declared these words with belief, something shifted. Her mind started noticing opportunities that she had ignored before. A former classmate emailed her about a freelance project. A local business offered her a consulting role she hadn't considered. She wasn't changing the world overnight. She was changing the lens through which she viewed it. Her voice had reshaped her reality, and with that, the universe began to respond. Think about it. Words are not just sounds. They are energy, vibration, and intent. Every time you say, "I can't," or "it's impossible," you are sending a vibration that the universe mirrors back to you. And every time you declare "I can," or "I am worthy," you are planting seeds in the soil of reality that grow into tangible results. It's not magic, it's law. Florence Scovel Shinn called it the power of the spoken word, and it's a principle as true today as it was a century ago. She reminded us that our words are wands, capable of bending circumstances to our will. Let me take you to a small, crowded cafe in downtown Chicago. There's a young entrepreneur named Leo, nursing a cup of coffee, staring at his laptop, discouraged. His tech startup is struggling, investors are hesitant, and every rejection feels like a hammer to his chest. For weeks he had been repeating, "No one believes in me. I'm failing. I'll never get funding." He's speaking fear into existence, crafting a story of scarcity and limitation. But on a different day he decided to try something new. He leaned back, took a deep breath and said out loud, "I am attracting the right investors. Funding is flowing to me. My ideas are valuable and I am ready to receive abundance." He felt ridiculous at first, almost embarrassed to speak it aloud in public, but the moment the words left his lips, something changed internally. Confidence replaced doubt. He began to network differently, to approach investors with boldness instead of desperation. Within months, his startup secured a significant round of funding. The words didn't conjure money out of thin air. They shifted his focus, sharpened his intent, and aligned his actions with opportunity. The universe responded to the new command he had issued through his voice. Here's another example closer to home for many of us. A mother raising 2 children on a single income might think, "I'll never save. There's never enough." Her words, though whispered in private, ripple through every decision, every purchase, every opportunity she avoids, every dream she tells herself is impossible. But when she consciously changes her language, saying, "I am capable of abundance. My family has everything we need and more comes to us every day," something remarkable happens. She starts budgeting differently, noticing bargains she never saw before. She finds extra hours to work on a side project. People around her begin to offer help or unexpected opportunities. The vibration of her words manifests in small, then larger financial shifts, proving that what we speak with conviction can change our circumstances. Let's pause and consider history for a moment. Think of some of the world's most successful figures. Henry Ford, Oprah Winfrey, Elon Musk. Did they speak in fear and scarcity? Rarely. They spoke in certainty, in vision, in power. Ford didn't say, "I hope people buy my cars." He said, "I will revolutionize transportation." Oprah didn't whisper, "Maybe I can succeed in media." She declared, "I am going to change lives through my voice and my vision." Musk doesn't mutter, "Perhaps electric cars will be accepted." He insists, "I am building a future with sustainable energy." Their words, spoken consistently, clearly, and with belief, aligned their actions and their worlds toward success. And here's something even more fascinating. Your subconscious doesn't hear maybe or not. It hears certainty. When you speak, your mind interprets your words as commands, and it begins to act in alignment with them. When you say, "I can't," your mind looks for evidence to confirm it. When you say, "I am abundant," your mind seeks proof of abundance everywhere. Your voice is literally the architect of your life, designing walls or doors, barriers or bridges. So the question isn't whether words matter. They do. The question is, what words are you giving power to? Are they building the life you want, the wealth you deserve, the opportunities that await? Or are they silently binding you to limitations you don't need to carry? Every time you speak fear, scarcity, or doubt, you reinforce the chains. Every time you speak confidence, vision, and abundance, you unlock doors. Money, opportunities, prosperity, they are not random. They respond to intention, energy, and vibration. And your words are the most direct way to communicate with the universe. Speak as if wealth is already yours. Speak as if abundance is natural. Speak as if the life you dream of is not somewhere in the distant future but here now, responding to your voice. The moment you realize this power, everything changes. It's not about whispering "I hope" or "maybe." It's about commanding, declaring, believing, and speaking as if your destiny is listening, because it is. Every syllable is a spark, every phrase a blueprint. And when you master this, you'll find that money, opportunities, growth, success, bows not out of magic but because your voice has become the force that shapes the world around you. Have you ever noticed how we often live in a world of someday and maybe? We spend our lives saying, "I will be successful one day," or "I will have enough money eventually," or "I hope I can achieve this someday." The words seem harmless, even hopeful, but they carry a hidden danger. When we speak in the future tense, we are telling the universe that our dreams exist somewhere down the line, separate from the life we are living right now. Our mind hears it, our heart hears it, and often the world responds in kind, delaying the very success we claim to want. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the moment you speak in the present tense, declaring what you want as if it already exists, you align yourself with the invisible currents of opportunity, money, and power. Let me tell you about a man named Raj. Raj was a talented graphic designer, known among friends and colleagues for his creativity, but he struggled to make ends meet. Every morning he would wake up and mutter, "Someday I'll get clients who pay me well. Someday I'll make enough to live comfortably." Those words, soft as they were, carried a weight. They painted his future as distant and uncertain, and no matter how hard he worked, opportunities seemed to slip through his fingers. Then one day a friend introduced him to the idea of speaking in the present tense, declaring wealth as if it were already his. Skeptical but desperate, Raj decided to try. He looked into the mirror and said, "I am a sought-after designer. I attract clients who value my work and pay me abundantly." The first day it felt strange, almost arrogant, but something began to shift inside him. His posture straightened, his confidence increased, and he noticed emails from potential clients he might have overlooked before. Weeks later he signed a contract with a major company, one that would triple his monthly income. It wasn't magic, it was alignment. By speaking in the present tense, Raj began to embody the reality he wanted, and the universe responded accordingly. Think about it. When you say, "I will have money," you are creating a gap between yourself and abundance. You are saying, in essence, that you are not wealthy now and therefore wealth is something far away, a horizon you may never reach. But when you say, "I am wealthy," you are collapsing time. You are declaring that abundance exists now, that opportunity is present, that your life already vibrates with prosperity. Your mind begins to see paths you hadn't noticed, your energy magnetizes favorable circumstances, and suddenly, doors open where walls once stood. Consider the story of Elena, a young woman from a small town who dreamed of becoming an author. She spent years writing her manuscript in secrecy, telling herself, "One day a publisher will notice me. One day I will be recognized." Every day of delay reinforced her fear and doubt. Then she began to experiment with a subtle shift. She started telling herself, "I am a published author. My words impact lives. Readers connect with my stories every day." She even created a small social media presence as though her books were already reaching the world. People began to engage with her content. Publishers reached out. A local bookstore invited her to give a talk. The words in the present tense had created a bridge between her inner vision and the external reality. She no longer waited for the future, she lived it. Let's imagine a scenario closer to everyday life. You are sitting at your kitchen table, bills piled up, wondering how you will get through the month. You could say, "I will figure it out someday," or, "Hopefully I can pay this soon." But instead, what if you said, "I am capable of solving this. Money flows to me now. I have all I need to handle this month and more"? You can feel the difference, can't you? The words lift your chest, straighten your spine, and awaken a sense of control and possibility. Speaking in the present tense does not ignore reality. It transforms it. It changes how you move through the day, how you make decisions, how you see solutions instead of problems. Historically, this principle has been the silent engine behind some of the most remarkable success stories. Think of Henry Ford. He didn't say, "Someday people will drive my cars." He declared, "I am building a revolution in transportation. People will drive my cars." The words were present, decisive, unwavering. And the world followed. Think of Oprah Winfrey. She didn't whisper, "Maybe I will inspire people." She spoke in the present, embodying her vision, declaring it, living it. Present tense declarations carry authority because they signal to the universe, to your subconscious, and to your own energy that this is not a dream for later. It is a reality for now. Here's a small but powerful example. A young man named Amir wanted a promotion at his job. Every week he told himself, "I hope I get the promotion next quarter." He was polite, hardworking, and diligent, but the words he spoke quietly undermined his confidence. Then he changed his phrasing. He said, "I am the perfect person for this promotion. My skills, dedication, and results make me the obvious choice." He even practiced it aloud before meetings. Something changed. He spoke differently to his colleagues, he negotiated with more confidence, he approached projects with visible energy. The promotion, once distant and uncertain, arrived sooner than expected. Present tense words had shifted not only Amir's mindset but also his actions, his energy, and the perception of those around him. And it's not just about grand declarations. It's about every small moment, every casual thought. When you speak in the present tense, you train your brain to recognize opportunity, you align your emotions with abundance, and you create a reality that mirrors your words. When you say, "I am attracting financial abundance now," you activate your mind's problem-solving ability, your intuition, and your creativity. You notice deals, offers, and solutions that you would have missed while speaking in the someday tense. Imagine your words as the rudder of a ship. Future tense words drift aimlessly, leaving your life at the mercy of currents, chance, and circumstance. Present tense words steer decisively, setting a course toward clear goals and tangible results. Each affirmation, each declaration, is a small push on the wheel, guiding your life toward wealth, opportunity, and abundance. The more consistently you steer, the smoother your journey becomes, and the closer you get to the destination you've been dreaming of. Even in the simplest of scenarios, speaking in the present tense changes how the world responds. Picture a young baker struggling to sell pastries in a crowded market. She used to say, "I hope someone buys my cakes today." Sales were sporadic, disappointing. One morning she decided to speak differently. "My pastries delight everyone who tastes them. Customers are lining up to buy my cakes." The change in words brought a change in energy. She smiled more, served more warmly, and suddenly the crowd responded. People arrived, drawn to the confidence she projected, and sales skyrocketed. Her declaration in the present tense had created a magnetic pull, and her reality mirrored the words she spoke. The lesson is simple yet profound. When you speak in the present tense, you are not lying. You're not pretending. You are aligning with possibility, calling the universe to action, and instructing your subconscious to notice pathways to your goals. You are claiming what is rightfully yours here and now instead of waiting for some distant tomorrow that may never arrive. Every "I am" is a spark that ignites momentum, a beacon that attracts resources, opportunities, and wealth. Have you ever noticed how the simplest act of saying, "thank you," can change the way you feel in an instant? Gratitude is often underestimated, dismissed as a polite gesture or a fleeting thought, but it carries a hidden power so profound that it can literally transform the flow of abundance in your life. Florence Scovel Shinn reminded us that gratitude is not just appreciation. It is a magnet, a force that pulls prosperity toward you. And when it comes to wealth, gratitude becomes fuel, an energy that aligns your mind, your emotions, and the universe itself with the life you desire. Let me tell you about a woman named Priya. She was juggling 2 jobs, barely making ends meet, exhausted by life's demands, and constantly frustrated that no matter how hard she worked, she never seemed to get ahead. Every morning she would wake up, drag herself to work, and mutter complaints under her breath about bills, rent, and responsibilities. Her life felt heavy, stuck, unyielding. Then one day a friend suggested she start a gratitude journal. At first she was skeptical. What difference can a few words on paper make, she thought. But that evening she wrote 3 things she was grateful for: her small apartment, her supportive friend, and the coffee she enjoyed every morning. She expected little to change, but that night she slept differently, lighter, calmer, and somehow more hopeful. The next day she added more items: her health, her coworkers who made her laugh, the sunny weather that lifted her spirits. Slowly she began to notice little things she had taken for granted. A client complimented her work, a neighbor returned a favor, a bus arrived just in time. The words of gratitude she spoke, the focus on what she already had, shifted her perception, and the universe mirrored it back. Opportunities appeared where she had only seen obstacles before. Money began to flow more freely. Not overnight, not magically, but through a series of small, miraculous alignments that could only be explained by the energy she was radiating. Imagine waking up and looking around your life, not to see what's missing but to see what's already there. Picture a young man named Adil, living in a modest apartment, working long hours at a job that barely paid the bills. He would often lament, "I'll never be rich. I don't have enough." One day, inspired by a mentor, he began a daily practice. Each morning before leaving his apartment he would say aloud, "I am grateful for this home, for my health, for the work I have, and for every dollar that comes to me today." At first it felt strange, almost forced, like reciting lines from a play. But gradually he noticed a change. He walked taller, he smiled more, he engaged more positively with coworkers and clients. People responded. A client offered a bonus. A side project brought unexpected income. Each act of gratitude created a ripple, a vibration that drew abundance toward him. Gratitude is not passive. It is an active, commanding energy. When you say, "Thank you for the money flowing to me," even if you don't yet see it in your bank account, you are setting a signal, a command, a declaration. The universe responds to energy, to frequency, to the vibration of your emotions and intentions. The more genuine your gratitude, the stronger the signal and the faster opportunities arrive. Every wealthy person, every successful entrepreneur, every visionary leader understands this principle intuitively. They do not merely wish for abundance. They give thanks as if abundance is already present. Let's think of a real-world scenario. A small business owner named Samira ran a local cafe, struggling to attract customers in a competitive neighborhood. She would often worry, fretting over empty tables and unpaid bills. Then she started a simple practice. Every morning before opening the cafe, she walked through her shop, looked at every chair, every table, every plate and cup and said, "Thank you for this space. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. Thank you for the customers who will come today." She repeated it silently, she repeated it aloud, she felt it in her heart. The effect was almost immediate. Her demeanor shifted, her energy changed, and customers began to notice. People lingered longer, smiled more, tipped more generously. Word of mouth spread. The cafe became a lively hub not because the neighborhood changed but because her gratitude changed the energy she projected, and that energy attracted abundance. Gratitude also rewires your perception. Instead of seeing lack, you begin to see potential. Instead of focusing on what is missing, you notice what is available, what is possible, and what is already working in your favor. A man named Arjun, working in finance, was constantly stressed, convinced he would never reach his goals. Then he began a practice. Every evening he wrote down 3 things he was grateful for that day, even the smallest details. A kind word from a colleague, a convenient train ride, a warm meal. Over time his mindset shifted. He began to notice opportunities for growth, he networked more effectively, and he took bold steps he would have avoided before. Within a year his income increased significantly, not because luck changed, but because gratitude had opened his eyes to possibilities he had been blind to before. Historical examples abound. Benjamin Franklin said, "He that is good for making excuses is seldom good for anything else." He understood that focusing on what is already present, what is already working, is far more productive than lamenting what is missing. Florence Scovel Shinn went further. She described gratitude as a powerful tool to attract wealth, to command life's blessings, and to align oneself with the forces of the universe. When you are grateful for what you already have, you create a vacuum that draws more into your life. Gratitude is a signal that says, "I recognize abundance. I welcome more. I am ready." Think about the energy of a person who complains versus one who expresses gratitude. The complainer sees obstacles everywhere, their words reinforcing lack and limitation. The grateful person, even in modest circumstances, radiates positivity and openness. Their voice, their demeanor, their energy all signal readiness for opportunity. And the universe responds. Money, clients, opportunities, and success are drawn not to need or desperation, but to joy, acknowledgement, and thankfulness. Even in the smallest moments, gratitude works. A student thankful for a teacher's guidance suddenly retains lessons better. An employee thankful for a boss's feedback receives mentorship that accelerates growth. A person thankful for a paycheck suddenly notices ways to invest, save, and grow wealth. The act of gratitude reshapes perception, opens doors, and primes the mind to recognize and receive abundance. Gratitude, in essence, is the emotional fuel behind every declaration of wealth. It amplifies your words, strengthens your intention, and aligns your energy with the flow of prosperity. Every morning you say, "I am grateful for the money that comes to me," even if it hasn't yet arrived. You are commanding the universe, training your subconscious, and attracting opportunities to fulfill that promise. Every act of thankfulness, every acknowledgement of abundance, plants seeds that blossom into wealth, success, and opportunity. And the beauty of gratitude is that it is infinite. There is always something to be thankful for, even in hardship. The act of recognizing what you already have creates a magnetic energy that draws more, not because the universe owes you, but because abundance is drawn to acknowledgement, joy, and recognition. Every dollar, every client, every opportunity flows more freely to the person who expresses gratitude, because they are signaling readiness, belief, and alignment with life's prosperity. Have you ever stopped to listen to the thoughts and words you toss around like casual remarks, the ones you think don't matter? We often underestimate the weight of negativity, the subtle power it has to shape our reality. Every time you say, "I can't," "I'm not good enough," or "this will never work," you are speaking commands into existence. Negative statements are not just harmless complaints. They are spells shaping your world, bending circumstances to match your doubts. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that words are your wands, that your statements, even those whispered under your breath, are shaping the energy around you. And when it comes to money and abundance, negative words are the greatest saboteurs of all. Let me tell you a story about a man named Samir. Samir was an ambitious young professional with talent and drive, yet he constantly found himself frustrated. Every morning as he walked to work he muttered, "I'll never get that promotion. I'm not smart enough. Others are better than me." These words, repeated daily, became self-fulfilling prophecies. His confidence waned, his energy shrank, and opportunities slipped past him like sand through fingers. Then one evening, after a particularly discouraging day, Samir stumbled across a book by Florence Scovel Shinn. It spoke of the incredible power of words, the idea that negative statements literally attract the very circumstances they describe. Samir realized that his words had been building walls around his success instead of bridges. He decided to experiment. The next morning, instead of muttering, "I'll never get the promotion," he said, "I am recognized for my skills. I am prepared for advancement, and the right opportunities come to me now." At first it felt strange, almost unnatural, but he persisted. Something subtle began to shift. His shoulders straightened, his tone changed, and even his colleagues responded differently. He started speaking with more clarity, more confidence, more belief. Within a few months, a promotion he had only dreamed of arrived. His words had changed his energy, and that energy had drawn the results he once thought impossible. Negativity does not only come from conscious complaints. It sneaks into everyday language. A friend asks, "How are you?" and you answer, "Oh, just surviving, barely getting by." A colleague comments, "This project is impossible," and you nod in agreement. A parent mutters, "I can't manage this household," and a child absorbs it, unconsciously learning limitation. Every statement, however casual, is a seed planted into the garden of reality. And just like a seed, it grows. Negative seeds grow into obstacles, scarcity, stress, and missed opportunities. Positive seeds, on the other hand, grow into abundance, confidence, and opportunity. Consider a young entrepreneur named Nita, who had started a small business selling handmade crafts. Every day she muttered, "No one wants what I make. I'll never succeed." Her shop was quiet, her sales minimal, and her heart heavy with doubt. One day, after reading about the power of language, she decided to change the way she spoke about her business. She began saying, "My creations delight people. Customers are drawn to my shop. Sales increase daily and abundance flows to me." She even wrote it on sticky notes and placed them around her workspace. Gradually her energy shifted. She smiled more, engaged more warmly with visitors, and noticed opportunities she had previously overlooked. Orders started coming in, collaborations appeared, and her business flourished. Her words had reprogrammed not just her mindset, but also the reality around her. Negativity has a sneaky way of masquerading as honesty. People often justify statements like, "I'm just being realistic," or "I'm only stating the truth," but reality is shaped by perception. When you declare, "I'll never have enough money," your subconscious hears it as fact and your actions align accordingly. You hesitate, procrastinate, or settle for less, reinforcing the very scarcity you predict. The words themselves carry vibration, energy, and intent. If you speak limitation, you attract limitation. If you speak abundance, you invite abundance. Even in history, the most successful figures understood the importance of controlling language. Think of Thomas Edison. When asked about his thousands of failed attempts at inventing the light bulb, he didn't say, "I keep failing." He said, "I have found 10,000 ways that won't work." He avoided negative framing. He didn't dwell on failure. He framed it as learning, as progress. His words shaped his perception, his persistence, and ultimately the outcome. Negative statements trap the mind in failure. Positive statements open the door to innovation. Imagine the small, everyday scenarios. A student mutters, "I'll never pass this exam," and suddenly study sessions feel heavier, concentration is harder, and anxiety grows. A salesperson thinks, "No one will buy today," and every customer interaction becomes tense, hesitant, and self-fulfilling. A parent says, "I can't manage this situation," and solutions slip away unnoticed. Language shapes energy. Language shapes perception. Language shapes results. There was a man named Kamal struggling with debt. Every day he would say, "I'll never get out of this. I'm drowning." Debt collectors called, bills arrived, stress mounted. He was speaking scarcity into existence. Then a friend advised him, "Stop speaking your lack. Speak your freedom." Reluctantly, Kamal tried. He began saying, "I am free from debt. I manage my money wisely. Opportunities to increase my income come to me now." Slowly the shift happened. He noticed freelance work he had ignored before. He negotiated extensions on bills. He began saving in small amounts. The words didn't instantly remove the debt, but they altered his energy, his choices, and his focus. Negative statements had trapped him. Positive ones set him free. Even subtle negative statements matter. Phrases like, "I'm just not good at this," or "I'll never make enough," or "Things never work out for me" carry tremendous power. Your mind interprets them literally, your emotions resonate with them, and your environment mirrors them. The converse is also true. When you consciously choose words of possibility, abundance, and certainty, your energy rises, your decisions sharpen, and the world responds. Negativity is contagious. Have you ever noticed how being around someone who constantly complains drains your energy? Their language shapes your mood, your mindset, even your opportunities. Avoid negative statements not just for yourself, but to protect the energy of those around you. Speak words that lift, inspire, and attract. A word spoken in the right tone with intention can alter a room, a relationship, a business, or a life. Even small, repeated positive statements compound over time. Think of a farmer planting seeds. Each negative word is like planting weeds. They grow, spread, and choke potential. Each positive declaration is a seed of abundance, cultivated daily, watered with belief, and tended with gratitude. Over weeks, months, and years, the garden of your life reflects the language you nurture. The moment you realize the true weight of words, you begin to see them as sacred. You speak not casually but deliberately. You choose statements that elevate your energy, reinforce your goals, and align with the life you want. You avoid negative statements not out of fear but out of respect for the power within your voice. Every "I can" becomes a command. Every "I am worthy" becomes a declaration. Every "I attract abundance" becomes a magnetic force. When we talk about the power of your voice, most people think only of the words themselves, the sentences, the declarations. But the truth is far deeper, far more profound. Your voice is not merely sound. It is energy. It is emotion. It is expectation given form. Every time you speak, every time you communicate, you are broadcasting signals into the world that affect not only how others perceive you but how life itself responds to you. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift because of one person's presence? Not because of what they said but because of how they spoke, how they carried themselves, the weight, the confidence, the warmth, or the tension in their voice. That is the power most people overlook. Let me tell you a story about a young woman named Lena. Lena was a talented speaker, but she struggled with self-doubt. She often delivered presentations in a monotone, hesitant voice, saying the right words but feeling invisible. People listened but they did not feel compelled, inspired, or moved. Then she discovered a simple principle. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. The moment she began to speak with conviction, with warmth, with expectation that her words mattered, something changed. Her presentations became magnetic. Colleagues sought her advice, clients were drawn to her proposals, and opportunities she never imagined appeared. The words hadn't changed but the energy behind them had. Her voice had become a force. Think about it. Words are like arrows but energy is the bow that launches them. Without the tension, the intention, the expectation, the arrow falls short. When you speak with certainty, with belief, with emotional alignment, your words carry force. They resonate not just with people but with life itself. Money, opportunity, abundance, all respond to this energy. Imagine a shopkeeper greeting customers. "Welcome," she says with a dull tone without warmth or expectation. The customers enter, browse, and leave. Now imagine she says, "Welcome. Today you will find exactly what you're looking for," with a smile, with warmth, with confidence in her heart. Notice the difference? The energy behind her words shifts reality. People linger, engage, buy more. Her voice has shaped the environment. There was a man named Zahir, a musician playing on the streets of his city. At first he played quietly without expectation, mumbling to himself, "Maybe someone will listen today." Passers-by walked past. Money dripped slowly into his hat. One day, inspired by a mentor, he began to play with the belief that his music mattered, that his gift was meant to be heard, that abundance was already responding. He closed his eyes, felt the notes flow through him, and spoke to the crowd between songs with warmth and certainty. "This music is for you, and it brings joy into your lives." People stopped. They listened. They tipped generously. They returned. His voice, infused with energy, emotion, and expectation, commanded attention, and the world responded in kind. Energy in your voice is contagious. You may have experienced it without realizing. Think of a leader who speaks passionately about a vision. Even if the words are ordinary, the energy is extraordinary. People are moved, inspired, and motivated. That is the invisible force of voice. It is the expectation that your words are true, that your reality already aligns with your declaration. When you speak with this kind of energy, you magnetize outcomes, including wealth. Florence Scovel Shinn spoke of the importance of belief in speech, of aligning the internal feeling with the external declaration. When your internal energy matches your words, you are creating a bridge between the unseen and the seen. Consider a young entrepreneur named Aisha. She had an innovative idea for a tech startup, but investors were skeptical. She could have recited the facts and figures mechanically, hoping for a yes. Instead, she spoke with passion, with certainty, with the expectation that her vision was not only viable but already succeeding in the unseen. She described the potential, the impact, and the results with emotion that made the numbers come alive. Investors didn't just hear her words. They felt the energy, the confidence, the certainty behind them. The investment followed. Her voice, the energy, the expectation, the emotion had moved the invisible forces into alignment. Even subtle things matter. Tone, rhythm, pause, emphasis, they all carry energy. A manager saying, "You can do this," softly and hesitantly plants doubt. The same words spoken firmly with warmth and belief plant confidence. A teacher saying, "You are capable of greatness," casually and without feeling, is easily ignored. Spoken with passion and certainty, the same statement sparks transformation. Money and opportunity respond in the same way. Your voice carries vibrations that life aligns with, and those vibrations are amplified by the emotions and expectations you attach. Let's go back to history for a moment. Winston Churchill didn't just speak words to inspire a nation. His voice carried urgency, conviction, and unshakable belief. Every syllable resonated with expectation that victory was possible, that courage mattered, that the future could be shaped. People rallied, hope surged, and outcomes shifted. Words without energy are merely sounds. Words with energy and expectation can move nations, markets, and lives. Even in everyday life, this principle is visible. A job seeker walking into an interview muttering facts with hesitation rarely gets the offer. Another candidate speaking the same facts but with warmth, confidence, and expectation that they are the perfect fit often receives the opportunity. Energy behind the voice communicates authority, worth, and alignment with outcomes. Your voice becomes a command, a magnet, a signal to the universe that you are ready, deserving, and capable. There was a small-town teacher, Rahim, who struggled to keep students engaged. His lessons were factually accurate but monotonous. The students tuned out. One day he decided to teach as if every word mattered, as if every student was absorbing knowledge that would shape their lives, as if his classroom was a stage where impact was already happening. He spoke with warmth, emotion, and expectation. The students leaned in. Participation soared. Learning flourished. His voice had changed the energy, and the world of the classroom responded to the vibration he created. Even your inner voice, the one you speak quietly in thought or affirmation, carries energy. When you declare, "I am abundant," with emotion and expectation, your subconscious begins to align. Decisions become easier, intuition sharpens, creativity flows, and opportunities present themselves. The words themselves are only part of the power. The force behind them, the feeling that they are true, the expectation that they will manifest, is what commands life to respond. Your voice is the bridge between desire and reality. The words are the surface, but the deeper force is the unseen energy, the emotion, the certainty, the expectation you carry with them. Money, opportunities, relationships, success, they all respond not just to what you say but to the invisible vibration of belief, emotion, and expectation you emit. When you understand this, you realize that mastery of your voice is mastery of influence, alignment, and the creation of your life. Every word, spoken with energy, with feeling, with certainty, becomes a declaration that life itself listens to, responds to, and aligns with. Have you ever noticed how the mind, left unchecked, drifts toward worry, doubt, and fear? Each day thoughts bombard us. Some encouraging, many discouraging, shaping the way we see the world, our place in it, and what we believe is possible. That is why daily affirmations are not just words. They are deliberate commands to your subconscious, seeds planted in the fertile soil of your mind to grow into opportunities, income, and the life you desire. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Your word is your wand." And daily affirmations are the wand we wave intentionally every morning, every day to shape reality. Let me tell you about a man named Imran. Imran was stuck in a rut, working a job that barely paid his bills, feeling invisible in a city full of ambition. Every night he would go home exhausted, telling himself, "I'll never get ahead. Opportunities never come to me. I'm just not lucky." Those words, repeated daily, had anchored him in scarcity, and he had begun to accept his circumstances as unchangeable. One morning a friend introduced him to affirmations. Skeptical but desperate, he decided to try. He stood in front of the mirror and said, "I am worthy of success. Opportunities flow to me easily. Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways." The first few days it felt strange, almost embarrassing. But slowly he noticed subtle changes. His mood lifted, his confidence increased, and he began to take small, decisive actions he had avoided before. Within a few months, a freelance project he hadn't considered brought in more income than his regular job. Daily affirmations had begun reshaping his reality. Think of it like this. Every morning when you speak affirmations, you are essentially programming your mind for success. Your subconscious cannot distinguish between what is imagined with conviction and what is real. If you tell yourself, "I am attracting abundance," your mind begins to filter your perception, noticing opportunities, connections, and solutions you previously ignored. A young woman named Sana, for instance, wanted to expand her online business but doubted her ability to reach customers. Every day she repeated, "I am attracting the perfect clients to my business. My work creates value and abundance." Within weeks, she found herself making connections with the right influencers, landing her first major collaboration. It wasn't magic. It was the mind, conditioned through repetition, opening to possibilities she hadn't recognized before. Daily affirmations do more than influence opportunity. They shape action. When you affirm, "I am confident in my abilities," your body and behavior start to align with those words. You speak with assurance, make decisions boldly, and act in ways that attract the very outcomes you desire. Consider a young entrepreneur, Arfa, who had an idea for a mobile app but hesitated to pitch investors. She began affirming, "I am a capable innovator. My ideas are valuable. Investors are excited to hear my vision." The affirmations shifted her internal dialogue. When she pitched, her energy, confidence, and clarity impressed investors, and she secured the funding she needed. Daily affirmations had not only built her belief but had translated into tangible results. Even small, subtle affirmations can compound into massive change. A student studying for a challenging exam might repeat, "I am capable. I understand these concepts. I am prepared." Each repetition aligns confidence, focus, and memory. A salesperson might affirm, "I attract the perfect clients who appreciate my value and purchase effortlessly." And suddenly every interaction becomes more intuitive, natural, and fruitful. Repetition transforms words into belief, and belief transforms belief into action. Think of history's great achievers. Napoleon Hill, author of Think and Grow Rich, emphasized the importance of repeated, emotionalized affirmations. He wrote that success begins with desire, but desire reinforced by repeated affirmations becomes faith, and faith becomes reality. Every visionary, every innovator, every leader has, in some form, repeated positive, reinforcing statements that directed their thoughts, actions, and ultimately their lives. The common thread is consistency. It is not one declaration that shifts life, but the daily, deliberate act of affirming what you want, feeling it deeply, and carrying that energy throughout your day. Consider a small-town baker, Hamid, struggling to attract customers. He started a daily practice. Every morning before opening the shop, he looked at the empty shelves and said, "Customers are drawn to my bakery. My creations bring joy. Abundance flows to me." Initially, nothing seemed to change. But Hamid continued with belief, day after day. Soon, word of mouth spread, regulars returned, and new clients discovered his shop. Each affirmation had planted a seed, and the consistent repetition nurtured it into tangible success. Daily affirmations also help reprogram the mind from scarcity to abundance. Most people operate under unconscious scripts of limitation. Money is hard to come by, opportunities are rare, I am not enough. Each repetition reinforces these beliefs. Affirmations, however, act as counter-programming. By consistently declaring wealth, opportunity, and capability, you overwrite negative patterns. Your mind starts scanning for proof of your affirmations. You begin noticing income opportunities, innovative solutions, and moments where your skills shine, things that were invisible before. Even in small, personal situations, affirmations create ripples. A teacher repeatedly affirming, "I inspire curiosity and learning in every student," engages more effectively. A parent saying, "I provide abundance and love for my family," notices solutions to challenges they hadn't seen. An employee repeating, "I am recognized and rewarded for my work," approaches tasks with greater focus and confidence. Daily affirmations transform perception, energy, and ultimately outcomes. Affirmations are most powerful when combined with emotion and visualization. When you speak, "I am financially abundant," imagine the feeling of abundance. Feel the security, the freedom, the joy it brings. Picture the scenarios where this money comes effortlessly, the projects you complete successfully, the people you help along the way. Florence Scovel Shinn emphasized that thought, word, and feeling must align. Words alone are sparks. Emotion is the fire that ignites them into reality. Even skeptics notice change when they persist. A young man, Raza, was doubtful that repeating affirmations could bring real results. He started anyway, affirming each morning, "I attract opportunities, wealth, and success effortlessly." Weeks passed and he noticed small shifts. A client responded favorably, a friend introduced a potential collaborator, a side project gained traction. Months later, his income had increased, his confidence soared, and he realized that the daily act of affirming had changed not only his mindset but also the external circumstances he encountered. The beauty of daily affirmations is that they are accessible to everyone at any time regardless of circumstance. They cost nothing, require no special equipment, and can be integrated into every part of life. The repetition builds neural pathways in the brain, rewires the subconscious, and aligns both thought and action with desired outcomes. What was once imagined becomes real because your mind and behavior are now operating in harmony with your words. Daily affirmations are not wishful thinking. They are intentional programming, repeated, reinforced, and imbued with belief. They prime your mind to notice opportunity, strengthen your confidence to act, and create a feedback loop where action, results, and belief reinforce one another. Each morning you affirm, each night you reinforce, you are constructing the architecture of your future. Now that you've discovered how your words, energy, and daily actions can command abundance, it's time to take control of your own life. If you're ready to unlock opportunities, attract wealth, and transform your reality, hit that subscribe button, not just for me but for the power to shape your destiny. Comment below, which one of these principles are you most committed to applying today and why? Remember, knowledge without action is wasted. Take it, use it, and watch life respond. Your voice has power. Are you ready to make it bow?